Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Okay, so again, we will be talking to our star out in Las Vegas, and this is no, she's not performing on stage. She's performing from her office. Roberta Hladek, and she is the co-founder of the Energetic Matrix Church of Consciousness, and we talk about the AIM program. But this time, you're going to get to see an article that she wrote that we're putting in our August issue. And also, there'll be a little ad that you'll be able to have more information, because I know we do this pretty quickly. I want to tell you where your name came up for me lately. We just got some advertising from a hypnotist, and she is into energy healing and a lot of things. And I said, have you ever heard of the AIM program? And she didn't. And, of course, I started talking about you and telling her all about you. And so I'm sure that she's gone on to your website, the aimprogram.com. I did mention the other one, of course, energeticmatrix.com. But and so which one the Energetic Matrix, is that a better one?
They all point to the same website. We just have one website. I think aimprogram.com is easier to remember, easier to type in. The other one's kind of a lot of words.
Right. And tell me again what the AIM stands for.
That's all-inclusive method, and what that means is that we no longer have to use the remedy bottles. Everything is done by our computerized system. So we send the energies all by way of your photograph. And we have, if you go onto our website, you can see us do testing, you can see the trays. I do a tray tour. And then we have a new video up that's only like a minute or two long, I guess. And we have some participants on the AIM program talk about their experience. And it's really kind of cool. So you can see that we have all walks of life. We have animals, we have people and children. Everybody, can use the AIM program.
So I haven't really been on it for a while. You're telling me that it's different.
On the website?
Yeah.
Well, we update it. We try to keep it fresh and bring up new things and new testimonials that some of our participants will send us and say, hey, I did this, and it's all because of being on AIM. So I like to highlight those people, too.
Of course. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm happy that you're doing that. Well, what we don't do as often probably is to talk about animals getting on the AIM program, which I think is really important. As a matter of fact, the other night I should have gone to bed, but I didn't, and I stayed up to see a movie. You probably saw Marley and Me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that brought tears. Oh, it was so sad, but it was really quite beautiful. As a matter of fact, It was funny, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I do remember crying through it.
Right. But the dog was he was a wild maniac. I mean, he went crazy all the time.
Yeah.
He was a wonderful dog. But so actually, it doesn't mean that a dog won't get cancer if he's on the AIM program. What does it actually mean if you have a pet?
Well, when we put our animals on the AIM program, they self-heal just like we do. And a lot of the diseases and positive things and all that, it transfers from animals to people and people to animals. We can catch stuff from them and they can catch stuff from us. And so it's really helpful for them. It has helped with, I have a participant that she fosters different animals and she takes them on, and another one of our facilitators helps horses that have been abused and neglected and things like that. And they both have told me in separate occasions that the AIM program has really helped with behavioral issues. It's helped these animals to begin to trust again and to be more aware and understand that they're there to help them and not to hurt them. And that's, it's really sad that people would hurt an animal because they're pretty,
I know.
They haven't done anything,
I know.
It's just sad that we have people like that. But we have the AIM program to help these animals get past that. And I know with my animals, like I have a cat, just one here in the office that I rescued, and I know she was just a little kitten, and she had a lot of fears and stuff, and now she just loves everybody. And it's been, she's been on our program. She's 12 years old, so I've had her on since she was a kitten, but she went through a lot of different things. And then her brother I had on the program wasn't an actual brother, but I rescued him as well, and I remember them calling me and saying that he had some kind of a kitty problem, like, I don't know if it was cancer, AIDS, I can't even remember what it was, and they said, bring him back and we'll give you a different kitten. I said, it's been 3 months, and you know how attached you get to them.
We'll bring you another kitten, right.
And I'm like, I can't bring him back and get a new kitten. I'm not going to do that.
Of course not.
I said, I'm going to keep him, and I'm going to nurture him, and he died when he was like 14 years old.
Oh, that's a funny story.
Yeah, so he was just fine. I mean, I didn't see any problems with him. He was fat and healthy and running around and happy and, eating properly. And I had him, checked out and what have you. And he had his shots, and nobody ever saw anything wrong with him. So, I just told him, no way. I'm keeping him. He's my little guy, and I love him. I can't do that. I can't just give you my pet.
Well, the other thing I remember is Stephen was so heartbroken when his cat died. Is that any of the cats you're talking about? No.
Well, when he and I were a couple, we had 2 cats. We had Fozzie and Maybe. And Fozzie was our star performer. Fozzie is in the book. And Fozzie and Stephen were like joined at the hip. Those 2 were funny. And Maybe, we called her Maybelline because she looked like she got into a box of makeup. She had all different colors on her face, and she was just precious. And when she was a kitten, she loved Steve too. And Steve was just really like the animal whisperer, I guess. Every animal loved him. And he had this area in his office where his chair was in the computer, and I sat in the other chair because I was always his thumb. And when she didn't feel good, she would sit on that chair. And she would just sit there until he recognized that she was sitting there. And it took us a while to catch on, but then we realized that every time she sat there, she didn't feel good. So he would check her, and it was really funny to watch her because she would stand and she would freeze for a couple of seconds, and then it was almost like she'd go, oh, okay, I'm on the tray. And then she'd walk away. And it was before we had the big AIM program, and it was when we were testing things out, and we had just these little plates, and he would put her photograph on there, and he would send the energy to her photograph for whatever it was that she had. And we would notice that she would stop, and she would kind of just freeze like she was a mannequin. And then a couple seconds later, she would start walking. And so we realized that she understood that he was testing her, but she would go there every time she didn't feel good, and she would just sit there until he saw her.
That is what a story that is.
Mm-hmm. And Fozzie was unbelievable. Fozzie was a pretty extraordinary cat too, and he was just attached to Stephen. He loved Stephen, and Stephen loved him, and he passed away from there was a big deal, probably, 8 years ago or so, where there was something in the cat food that the cats were dying of.
Oh, I heard, yes, I remember that.
I can't remember, there was some chemical. I can't remember what it was.
Right.
But we had someone watching him while we went we did an AIM cruise. Steve and I spoke on a cruise, and we had a lot of AIM participants go with us. And while we were gone, someone was watching him, and they had given him some cat treats. And these cat treats had that. And his body pretty much shut down. And right as we were coming home, luckily Stephen was there when he passed away, and it broke his heart.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah, that was really hard on him.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very bad story. So, and we don't think about that because we just assume they're... So I forget even exactly what it was, but I do know that they did talk about the animals. And was it just for cats?
I think it was cats and dogs. And it was something in the dry foods of them that had been imported, and it probably was okay for animals in another country, but our animals aren't used to whatever was in there. And it made them, a lot of them, sick, and many passed away. Yeah. It was a real difficult thing. So it was a wake-up call for all of us. You know, we look at the food we eat, and we're very careful. We have to do the same for our animals. Yes. We have to really be careful what's in the food that we're giving them, where it's made. And I'm really conscious of that with my cat here in the office with Hazel. And then I have 2 cats at home. I'm really careful with what I feed them.
Right. Well, that's a good pet story about people doing this. And of course, you don't know this because you're not here in the studio, but I always bring Charlie with me. Yeah. And Charlie's so quiet. He sits here. He doesn't move. He doesn't do anything. He's just really a good dog. Every once in a while, if I should maybe get something to eat, like a little cookie or something, he starts. Then he'll bark because he wants some. And I have to say, no, you can't have any. Be quiet. But other than that, you got to
bring little treats for Charlie.
Yeah, I know. Well, the studio, they're interesting. They allow me to put Charlie here, but I don't think they want any food around here, so I'm very careful. Anyway, let's move on though, and let's talk about the kinds of people that we know are being helped by AIM, and let's just make believe that people have not heard you before, and let's start. We always have to do that because we always have new listeners. And even the ones who've heard you, they have to be reminded about what the AIM program is and how you started it and what it does to really help.
Oh, it's every day I think about what we've accomplished and how far we've come and how extraordinary that Stephen was to come up with this program and how I've been passed the baton to carry it on. The AIM program is we took homeopathic remedies because we were both studying homeopathy, and we use acupuncture points, and we've kind of brought in Eastern and Western medicine and been able to program our computer with positive affirmations, and we've gone into anti-aging frequencies, and we've kind of made frequencies of different diseases, flus, colds, bugs, whatever you want to call them. And we've put them all into this computer, and we've been able to send these computer energies to us via a photograph. And you might say, well, how did you know you could do that? Years and years ago, when I first met Stephen in 1987, I had been in a car accident. And Stephen worked with me with homeopathic remedies. And when you read the book Sanctuary, that's where we start with the remedies. And as time went on, I started feeling better and better, not only physically but emotionally, and I found that the things that were important to me before were no longer important to me, and I had a different set of important issues, and I was feeling so much better. Like when I say important issues, it was like I was one of those people that I worked all week, and Saturday and Sunday were my days off, and I got up so early on Saturday because I didn't want to waste my day. And so instead of I get up, clean the house. I had everything done by 8 o'clock in the morning. It was like crazy, and all those things I thought were important. And yes, they are important, but there's also something about being important is taking care of you and sitting down and having your coffee and reading the newspaper or looking at the sunrise or whatever it happens to be, but you need to sit and kind of meditate or being with yourself for a minute, and so I learned that over time and learned to kind of stop and smell the coffee kind of thing. But we used to have these different meetings at our home, and one day we had this, and we had doctors and chiropractors and politicians and you name it, all walks of life would come, and we would all talk about what we were doing, and everyone was interested in how to get patients, participants to feel great and live the best life. That was our goal. We thought everybody's living longer, but let's live the best we can as long as we can. And so we would all kind of share what we were doing and try and come up with that solution. And there was a guy there, and he pulled me aside, and he said, do you know that you can do this by way of a photograph? And I kind of looked at him sideways. And I said, really, And he said, yeah. So he was explaining to me about the Aborigines having their pictures taken. They said it would steal their soul, and they didn't want their photograph taken because your photograph holds your energy. And we all talk about auras. That seems to be one of the things that everybody can relate to because you see the colors around your photograph if you've ever had your aura reading. And you can see the blues and the greens and the yellows and oranges and all these different colors, and then the colors mean something to the person that's reading your photograph. And it's kind of same with the way Steve and I developed this program to be able to read a photograph. So when everybody left and I started talking to Stephen about it, he said, oh, yeah. And so we started going in that direction. And I was studying for homeopathy at that time, and I woke up with a really bad headache one morning. And I used to get those because I had been in a car accident and I had a whiplash and what have you. And he said, well, let me try your photograph. And I looked at him, and I'm like, I have a really bad headache. I've got to study. I have a test tomorrow. I don't have time for this. And he said, give me a half an hour. And if it doesn't work, then we'll go the other route. And I was always kind of like the Mikey, in the commercial, Mikey will eat anything. Right. Well, they were always putting me up for all these things. Well, here, try it on Roberta, try it on her, and then she'll tell us how she feels. And I was
That's a funny story.
So lo and behold, he puts my picture on the thing, and about 15, 20 minutes later, I could feel my headache leaving.
Really?
And so I told him, I said, well, I hate to say it, but it did work, and I'm feeling better. So from that point on, we started developing the AIM program, and then it took a while for it to really come to fruition where we could program all of the frequencies and then develop the system to send to the bigger plates. Because at the time, we just had a 4x4 little piece of metal that was connected. And you can see that on our website when you watch Stephen do an evaluation. You'll see the plate, and you'll see him holding a person's hand and testing their thumb. And that's the lymphatic meridian, which runs through the body. And we use that to test and find out what's going on with you. Because inside each one of us, we know really what's going on with us and what we need and what we don't need. And so that's really what we're testing, and that's what the AIM program is doing, is sending energies you're requesting to need for your body to self-heal itself. Mm. You're doing the work. The AIM program is just a tool to send that information to you, and then your body's going, okay, I need this one, that one, whatever, So that's kind of how the AIM program works, and it raises our life force, which is our inner strength, to overcome everyday adversities, whether it's a cold, a flu, being nervous about something, being excited about something, worrying about you might have a sick child at home and you got to go to work and you had to leave them with a babysitter, whatever it is that's going on with you, we have frequencies on there to help us to overcome that. And if we don't have it in there, we're always striving to add new frequencies. And so far this year, I think I've added 210 new frequencies.
No. That's amazing.
Yeah. So if the frequency is on there, we have the ability to self-heal that. So that's our goal, is to have as many things on there so that we have the resources so that we can self-heal ourselves. And, I used to always ask him about anti-aging, so I wouldn't have to dye my hair and, wrinkles and all these other things. And he always said, well, self-healing kind of comes from within. We want or anti-aging, we want our organs to be working at a younger age, too. Because if we look great on the outside, but our organs are, old, it's not going to help us. So we want to go from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And so if our organs are at a younger age, then that's going to also help our skin and our hair and all those things that we worry about as, self, or the, what do you call it, the superficial things,
Well, when you all started this, though, there were computers,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't sophisticated as they are today.
No, they weren't. And the computer that he used, we were only able to, we had to see patients when we were in private practice, and so you could only see so many people. And Stephen was always he really didn't want people coming back. He wanted them to be good and go on and do their life and do whatever they had to do. He didn't want them to have to keep coming back into the office, which isn't a real good business module. But he really felt that he wanted people to feel great and be able to go and do and not have to worry about being sick or feeling bad or whatever. So when we got the AIM program working, he thought, this is the answer, because then we can get all these people, they can all be on the program, they don't have to take time out of their day to come into the office. And then he had time and we had time to research and to add new frequencies on there to then transmit, so then more people could have access to those frequencies. And, his whole thing was to have everyone feeling great in the whole world. If he could put the whole world on there, he would have.
Yeah. He's very sweet, very nice, wonderful man. You were very fortunate to have him in so many different respects, weren't you? It's unusual to be a partner, a romantic partner, and then go into a business partner and everybody stays the same. That was hard. That was unusual, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was unusual, but he was an unusual guy, too. He and I had a really close relationship, and we did up until the end. And it was pretty darn special, because when we broke up and we realized that we were better business partners than we were romantic partners, because it's kind of hard to work together and to live together. And, we were able to, I guess we've been working with AIM, so we were conscious enough to continue that relationship and stay together and be still best friends. And we were always very good friends. We could fight and we could make up
right,
and still work together and stuff. So yeah, he was a brilliant guy. I can't say that, a lot of our participants, when they were patients, would say he doesn't have the best bedside manner. And I said, yeah, that's true, because sometimes he could be a little gruff, but little kids loved him. It was really funny. Kids and puppies and kittens and things like that always loved him. So did everybody else. You either loved him or you hated him, I guess. It's like,
I understand. Well, but when you first started doing this, you didn't have people across the country who were healers or doing a lot of the things with your organization. How did that come about?
With the facilitators?
Yeah.
Well, we started this, and a participant of ours came in, and she was so interested in what we were doing, and she said, I can help to spread this out to other people so that more people can get to know what it is that you do. I can help. And so we said, well, okay. And then we had to try and figure out, well, how do we compensate her, or what do we do? And it kind of just snowballed from there, because then she would get participants on the program, and then they would get excited about it, and they would want to tell people. And we just have this wonderful group of people that are what we call facilitators, and they're kind of the liaison between us and them. They disseminate information, new frequencies, help them with issues they may have, challenges, try and help them over the humps of learning how the program works, and, making sure they know that we have phone calls and, things available to them to listen to or to read and that kind of thing. And it kind of just really snowballed. And now I've got this core group. There's right around 80 of them, I guess, that are throughout the world that are my right arms. They're so helpful, and they're amazing, loving people that really believe in what we do. And they were all on the program, and they all understand how the program works, and they're very supportive and helpful and all that.
Yeah, that's it is true, and that's a lot of people who are working with you. Do you send them a newsletter, or how do you communicate with them with all this time?
Well, we have what we call facilitator calls twice a month, and they all come on the calls. We also record them, so for those that are overseas and in different time zones, etc., and a lot of them have other jobs too, and they have families and what have you, then they can listen to the call at their leisure and whenever they can. And then they all communicate with me too via emails. Sometimes they phone me. So we're in contact quite a bit as far as that goes.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very amazing when I think back on all this, and I really want to thank you again for doing what you're doing, and I love working with you, and appreciate that you're there for me and for everybody else.
Well, thank you, and I really appreciate you too. I love being on your show, and you're always so supportive.
Well,
and one of these days, I'm going to meet Charlie.
Yeah, you
I've
will.
I've seen his picture, and I feel like I know him.
Yes. Well, hopefully I'll come out to Las Vegas sometime. I haven't been there since it's all different, but I have to get going now on the radio show, and we'll talk again. But that's one of on my bucket list, actually.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thanks so much, Roberta.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye.